Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to this week's recap video. I hope you all had a great week. Ours was really nice, productive, a little on the hot side, but not as bad as years past. So I'm trying not to complain. We've only been 100 or over, 4 times this summer so far. Tomorrow's gonna be 90, and it takes all day to get to 90. We hit 90 at 4 or 5 in the afternoon.
Well, today's been really nice because there's been a breeze. Yeah. So even when it's on the warmer side, just when you're outside working or whatever, just the sweat, the breeze cooling you off.
Right. Last year, we were hovering right around 105 for 30 plus days. I don't know how many days over 30 it was, but it was horrible.
Yeah.
And we could still hit that. I don't know. But overall, it's been pretty nice. But a lot of projects they're being worked on, like the pole barn, the little, shed in front of the gate. The pillars are done. All kinds of stuff. Pathways behind the Dream Stream. We're going to get started on that this week. So all good things. The aqua pots, wanted to mention, are back in stock. We didn't think we would get that middle size. It's like the classic size. There's a small, classic, and large. Anyway, we didn't think we would get the classic size back until fall, and we were able to get a limited quantity, but we did get some. So for those of you, I know that there was a whole bunch of people on the waiting list or wanted to be notified, so we did get some of those. All of them come with a water level indicator at this point, which looks like this right here, and it goes down in. Well, hold on. Ken actually, let me just move this stuff out of the way. He came in here this morning and tested one of these little ones, the small size.
Oh, he got it full.
Well, he wrote a note on it. It says, full, don't spill, on it. So he said what it does is I can feel it right here. I don't even know if you can see it, so it's not super effective.
You're always looking down on it. Usually.
You are, and I'll show you. So see that right there? So when it's full, that thing is all the way to the top, like that. He did say that it's not a super great indicator to tell you where the level at is in the reservoir, but it will at least tell you if it's full or not. Mm-hmm. If it's full, it'll be all the way to the top, and it'll help you to not overfill it. I think it's more for that, more than gauging this, because once the water level in the reservoir goes down, the indicator wants to just kind of go down to the bottom of the reservoir.
Well, it'd be nice if you're just out looking at your pots and you're not sure if you should give them water or not. You know that there's water in the reservoir if it's up at the top. So it'd be a nice indicator to tell you, don't worry about watering today.
Anyway, gardenanswer.com, we do have some of those. We 4 packs ship for free in the U.S. on the small and classic size, and then the 2 packs of the large ship for free in the U.S. So, okay, first video from this past week was perennial maintenance, seed harvesting, and planting in the west side flower bed. So I went through the west side flower bed closest to the house, the one that has the big giant juniper in it, and we just cleaned it up. Some perennials just needed some attention, cutting back, deadheading. I washed everything down with a hose. We harvested some columbine seed, the pink petticoat columbine seed, and then I planted some penstemon, sedum, and 1 iris, just to kind of fill in some spots. It was a really lovely morning. Isengdal said, we so enjoy watching your videos nearly every day. Question, what happens next with the columbine seeds? How are they stored? What is the process and timing for planting them? Well, I've got these little glass jars. I wonder if I have one in here. Like these right here, which are super easy to find. Like this one, I think these are, what are these? I think these might be poppies. And then I think these are columbine right here, and this is whitefinch orlea. I just like to put them in something that I can seal. So whether it's a little envelope, a seed envelope, or something like this, it's just nice to have a dry place to store them where no water can get to them. And then as far as seeding goes, you can spread the seed right now. That's how the plant behaves right now. As those seed heads start to mature and the wind blows them around, or they get knocked into or whatever, they just kind of spit seeds everywhere. And they might sprout this year, they might hang it out and then sprout next spring. Usually it's like the winter and spring moisture that brings them up. You can spread them in late winter, early spring on the soil if you want to, or you can start them in trays. I started some in trays, they're still in trays in the greenhouse. I need to plant them out. I planted 2 trays of the pink petticoats from seeds that I had gathered last year. Reen6795 said, is your clippings container a tub truck from Gardener's Supply? I think so. If so, how durable do you find it to be? I've learned so much from watching you over the years. I appreciate that you only promote the things you really like to use. My mother, 85, and I watch your videos together. Let's see what Laura's planting today. Mom especially enjoys seeing the kids when they pop in. That's a sweet comment. Yes, that tub truck Gardener's Supply sent out a long time ago. I really just started using it when we were doing pond maintenance, and it was handy because it floats. We need to get something like that in.
Yeah.
because it is quite handy for stuff like that. And I do find that most of the time I'm filling my gator full of plants to plant in a project. And I don't have as much room for like one of our pop-up bags. If I mean business for clean out, like if I know I've got a lot of clean out to do, I'll get a kangaroo pop-up bag. But for littler jobs like the one I did on the west side, that little one was just sufficient. And it also does help you not fill your stuff up too full and get it too heavy. So everything kind of has its own little use, I guess, out there.
I saw Gardener Supply filed for some type of bankruptcy. I don't know. I don't think they're going out of business.
They're looking for a
looking
buyer?
for another buyer. But I don't really understand how that works, because I know that Gardener Supply is first of all, they have two sides to their business. They've got like brick and mortar stores, like garden centers, like your parents, and maybe like 4 or 5 of those, or somewhere around that number, I think. And then they've also got their online, thing, which is probably what most people know them for. So I don't know if like one side of it is filing for bankruptcy, but maybe not the other side. And
aren't they employee owned?
They're employee owned, and I don't understand how that works when you file for bankruptcy.
Are you sure that that's like legit?
Well, that's
news?
what I can link the article. There was an article, that came out saying that they were filing for bankruptcy. I texted Kevin from Epic Gardening, and I was like, "Hey, you gonna buy it?" I don't think he's got his own thing going, so I don't think so. But anyway, so it'll be interesting to see what happens with that. We haven't worked with gardeners for like 3 years. I think the last project we did with them was
it was right after they restructured. I think we kind of.
I don't think they had restructured yet, because they went through and they fired a bunch of people.
And they fired our people.
Yeah, the people we were working with.
The people that we really loved. And people make a big difference to me in how a company feels. And not that it doesn't feel the same. I mean, we probably could have created a relationship with the new people, but I really liked the people we were working with. Yeah. Yeah,
so it was that project at Alyssa's house with the greenhouse and the raised beds and all that, and that was the last project we did with them.
So that's 2 years ago, or
2.5,
something like that. Gardening Spirit said, Laura, how is the lamium getting on by the trees? It's doing great. It's doing so beautifully. I'm really happy we put that in. I'm glad you were like, oh, I don't think you should put annuals in there. I think this is your last shot. It just looks peaceful right there.
Yeah, it needs to fill in a little bit.
It does. Had I planned on doing that, I would have ordered more, but it'll fill in eventually. I mean, you see what the lamium did under the golden rain tree. My goodness. Yeah. Trisha said, I live in a hot zone 9B in Northern California. I'm wondering about fertilizing in the high heat. When is it too hot to fertilize? How do you decide in the summer? Thanks so much. We don't really
for annuals. We don't stop fertilizing.
We just fertilize whenever it's convenient, which it usually happens in the middle of the day. Never had a problem. No adverse effects from doing it that way. It's just a water soluble that we're using. We mix it in with water and fertilize.
It's right there.
Oh yeah. Ta-da. Peggy said, question, I always get leaf miner on my columbine to the point I was frustrated and got rid of the plants. What do you use to control that, and will they kill the plants? I would use either the Captain Jack's Dead Bug, which is a spinosad-based spray, or the Rose RX, which is a neem-based spray. You'll want to make sure to spray at dusk, because both of those are still a contact insecticide, even though they're organic. So spray once the pollinators have gone to bed. And I would spray probably a few times, like once a week for several weeks, because I know leaf miners, they can have several generations within one season. So it's something you want to keep up on. But that's what I would do. One of those 2 sprays should help out. I have to watch out for leaf miners on my grapes. I noticed a little bit of activity on the grape trees, and then it just stopped. Maybe Bethany got after it before it got worse.
Alternate? Should you alternate products?
No, that one doesn't really. That one doesn't build up a resistance. Nothing behaves like a spider mite. Spider mites are just the worst. Sherry said, when you move your limelight punch hydrangeas, I will move mine. Thank you so much for the information. Mine is now in quite a bit of shade. It's struggling just like yours. Do you think they should be moved in the fall or wait till spring? Oh. If you're going to do it in the fall, you want to do it a little bit early enough to where they have some weeks to root in before wintertime. It might be best to do it in the late spring, early spring-ish. Maybe right before they break dormancy, you can dig them and move them, and then they can break dormancy in their new home. That's probably the best route to go. We won't move ours until we figure out what we want to do in that space. We'll see. Yeah. We'll see what happens. We got to get after that juniper and figure out how to take care of the spider mites in that tree.
Well, Ken thinks he may have found a product that it can be a systemic. So I asked him to ask a few questions about, does this, it's like a neem type thing, but supposedly it's a systemic, which means the tree takes it up. And so I asked him to ask the company if it translocates to the juniper berries in case the birds are eating those or something like that. And if it could, have any adverse effect or whatever.
Sure.
So we'll find out.
Yeah.
Some of these things kind of take time to do some research. And
yeah, we don't want to just willy-nilly approach with the chemicals.
Yeah.
Even if they're organic, kind of want to know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So you feel good about the decision you're making. Mrs. TA 1267 said, should I be cutting back my columbine? I grew some from seed last year. They never flowered, but made it through the winter without a hiccup. And they flowered magnificently this year. That's exciting. I was going to leave them. Is it better to cut back? I do like the height and winter interest where they are. You don't have to cut them back. If you like them where they're at and you like the way they look, you want to leave them through winter, do it. Absolutely. I would definitely wait until they have had a chance to produce seed and spread themselves around in there. That way you can have a nice big thick patch of them. Some years we'll get to ours, some years in the earlier season, and some years we don't. I was just looking at our light yellow ones underneath the birch tree. Those could probably use a cutback at this point because they have enough time to rebound and at least produce a foliage canopy, which would be nice. They're looking a little ratty though at the moment, so it's probably time. Deborah said, what do you do with the aphid-infested plant material that you pruned away? Also, for the last 2 years, I've gotten aphids on my petunias in August when I noticed the plants have taken a toll. Should I do some preventative neem oil spraying before I see them? For aphids
or Captain Jack's?
Yeah, Captain Jack's would be a good. No, Captain Jack's isn't labeled for aphids.
Oh, it's not?
No. Dead bug?
No, it is. It's spinosad. It's not labeled for budworms.
It is labeled for budworms.
It is?
I want to see. I don't know. I don't know if I remember that right. Okay, hold on. I was pretty sure it was not labeled for aphids.
You might be right. Maybe it is for budworms and for spider mites, but not for aphids.
Well, you might. I don't know. One of us is right. I don't know which one. Okay. So on the front of the bottle, it usually says the big ones that it gets. Caterpillars, codling moth, gypsy moth, loopers, leaf miners, spider mites, tent caterpillars, thrips.
Oh, so no aphids.
No aphids on.
Okay, so that's the spider mites. I have a note in my phone, like in the notes app.
Yeah.
And I wrote down, I look at it every time we're going to go spray or do anything.
Really?
I'm always like, I have it listed as like, this does spider mites and, all the things that we deal with.
Yeah.
So, budworms and spider mites, but not aphids. This does aphids and spider mites, but not this. This does this and this, and I've got a list of all the products.
Yeah. So I'm looking further in because, they list other things in there. And it takes care of tons of different types of worms. So it's going to take care of budworm.
Yeah, that's interesting.
But I don't see aphids anywhere on the label, which seems super weird that a spray that says it can kill spider mites wouldn't kill an aphid.
Right.
Aphids are one of the easiest things to get rid of. And you can spray preventatively if you want to. A Rose RX, again, would be a really good one for that, which is a neem or like BioNeem or something like that. Yeah, I don't see aphids anywhere. What was the other one that you were talking about? Did you say another one, or am I just imagining
things that do mites and aphids is malathion, which is a little bit harder.
Synthetic.
Rose Shield, also synthetic. Neem Max will do it. And then there's systemic insect control, which is acephate, which is pretty hard. But I just wrote down the things that will do both mites and aphids.
I would do Neem Max
or
Rose
Neem Max
RX.
is the easiest one.
Yeah, I would do something like that. And you could spray preventatively if it's a problem.
You can also do pyrethrin, which is pretty easy.
Yeah, is pyrethrin a derivative of like a...
That's a natural product.
Plant?
Yeah. So pyrethrin does aphids, but not mites.
Okay.
So that's a good one to put in the regimen if you're wanting to stay on that. So like Neem Max and pyrethrin, which we have both of those on the website.
Oh, okay. As far as what I do with infested material, I throw it in the dumpster. You don't want to be throwing that into your compost pile. I don't think ours is so isolated out in the Sahara of the dirt lands that if they tried to spread themselves, they would die in the process trying to get to a plant that was actually green. So I'm not super fussy about it, but if I know something is infected, I will put it in the dumpster and get rid of it. Lena Frandin said, happy 4th of July. Beautiful job today, but oh so short. Off topic, I have a small fence line of arborvitaes and was considering topping them for a smoother look. Will you all be doing this to yours? No. They are presently 8 feet tall and so gorgeous. Tomorrow is going to be cooler for the 4th. If you want your plants, your arbs to widen out.
If you want a hedge, go for it.
Top them, yeah.
I mean, if you want a hedge to stop at 8 feet.
Yeah. Well, absolutely, yeah. We're not going to do that with ours because we want height. That's why I say, no, we're not going to top ours. We want as much height as we can get from ours, but you might not be in that same situation, and you might want that more formal kind of hedged up look. It will make them thicker, though. Thicker. CG Zone 8 said, how does Aaron eliminate grass to develop a new flower bed?
Oh, we've showed that. You just get,
There's many methods.
Yeah, I guess recently we didn't show it. But what happened around where the columns are, we didn't show that, but we just used a
sod cutter.
Mm-hmm. That's the easiest method. If you have a large enough space to pull up, just rent a sod cutter, and you can roll it up, and you can usually if you can find somebody that wants it ahead of time, and oftentimes they'll come and pick it up. So you rent the sod cutter, you cut it, which basically is kind of like mowing your lawn a little bit. They're heavier, for sure. And you can oftentimes just leave it there and let people come and take it because it's just sitting on the ground and it's ready. And then you don't have to carry it off.
Yeah. Oh, that's the worst part. Sod cutting isn't hard. It's the rolling and lifting of those pieces.
If you have to do a little section, you just got to get a shovel out. I mean, if you're doing a small little area, there's really no other way besides just get a flat shovel.
Well, we've done it depends on how fast you want to plant in it. We've done the cardboard and mulch method.
Oh, that's true.
And that actually worked beautifully for us. Beautifully. I would highly recommend, actually. And then of course, there's always like methods that come out and everybody gets on board. And then there's like the reversal, like don't do no more cardboard in your garden. All of that just drives me absolutely crazy. Do what you want.
There's ink on the side of the boards.
I know.
The cardboard.
Yeah, we rarely jump on any bandwagon like too hard anyway.
Yeah, sure.
The next video was planting 5 varieties of perennial for full sun. I had 3 varieties of Siberian iris. There was a jeweled crown, butter and sugar, and ruffled velvet. So gorgeous. They got the most beautiful, tall, strappy, grassy texture that doesn't brown through the summer. I just love them. And then I planted more Stokes asters, the Riptide variety, and then Violet Profusion Salvia, I think is what that one was called. MC Garden Trade said, how often do you need to add more zones for drip? Seems like at the rate you add plants, you might run low on water pressure by constantly adding to the drip. Do you just look for it when it seems like a certain area is drying out too much?
It's actually, we've planned for the expansion. So right now, there's a number of zones that have like 1 or 2 plants or like 1 or 2 trees that are on it. And it might seem like
ridiculous.
What are you going to do? Yeah. But I've already planned out kind of like what chunks of areas are going to be zones. So yeah, it's already planned out, and it's the opposite where most areas don't have enough plants per zone. And it'll almost get better over time instead of like right now, there's a couple areas where I'm sure that the tubes are like
about ready to blow.
Yeah.
And
like
we blow couplers from time to time.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah.
Cosmopolitan said, love going through the placement process with you. I always learned you need to plant iris high with the rhizome above the ground. Is that not necessary? With bearded iris, yes. These are a little bit different though. And I usually just go with I don't think I've ever planted Siberian iris from like a bulb or a rhizome. It's usually like a containerized plant. So I usually just trust the grower and plant them at the height that they are currently planted at in the container and just go with it. And they tend to do really well. Laharasti. I noticed I had powdery mildew on my vegetable plants. If I used neem oil, is it safe to eat the produce? I think so. I don't know that there might be like a certain amount of days. Let me bring some up here. I can tell you. Yeah, so every spray or chemical that you're using on vegetables and edibles especially, it will tell you on the label how many days you need to not spray before you can harvest. And the neem that I just looked up, the neem max, it says spray up to the time of harvest. So you're good to go.
So basically just wash your vegetables anyway?
Yeah, just rinse them off and you're good. Yep. Duke said, what is the rounded flowy grass at 410? Anyone know? I have to have it. That is a Niagara Falls panicum, and yes, you have to have it. Everyone should have it. It is such a beautiful grass. It does get 4x4 though, so don't let this little short cute mound fool you. It will get at least double that height. this year. Karina Rosso said, is it ever appropriate to use sucker punch on the lilac when pruning? Yes. And when I pruned the lilac in the video before this one, I was reading up on sucker punch because I thought, you know what, it's been a while since I've read up on exactly how to apply it. And it depends. It depends on if your suckers are coming from the root or if they're coming from the trunk. Some of them you want to let grow 6 to 10 inches tall. Like you cut them back, let them grow 6 to 10 inches tall, and then spray. Some of them you can apply to a cut wound, so it just kind of depends. And I felt like I had suckers from both areas on this lilac, so I just cut them all back. I do have sucker punch here, over there, and I'm going to go back out there probably later this week and see how tall the new suckers are, and I'll take care of them.
You have to cut them again to create
for the ones that need to be cut. And I can't remember if it's the ground ones or the trunk ones that need to be cut, so I'll have to read up again before I do it. Either way, my suckers were way too big to be spraying this time around. I had to cut them back first so I could get them shorter. Brooke said, what happens if I do not cut the spent blooms off of lilacs or viburnum? Can I just plant it and let it go forever without pruning or cutting? Absolutely. That's what most of us do.
Probably better, right?
Well, I mean, it depends on if you have a bloomering lilac, say, you will get better rebloom if you go in a deadhead. But most of them that would just bloom in the spring, the blooms just kind of disappear over time. The foliage kind of just gobbles them up and you don't see them. And I rarely, unless they're baby plants, will deadhead a lilac. Nancy said, last year I started Blue Fama pincushion from seed in the house. They didn't do much last year but are blooming so lovely this year. Will they self-seed to spread or should I start more and plant them in? They will self-seed a bit, but I actually started another tray of the Fama Blues this year and I just planted them out not long ago, maybe last week. I don't think I did it in a video. It was just during an evening when I was out kind of puttering in the garden because I wanted my display to be a little bit more amped up. So it just depends on how long you want that to take. Janelle said, lovely plants. If you had a smaller place, do you think a plan would be more important? Also, does planting roses differ from planting other perennials? It depends on your personality. I didn't have a plan at our last garden, and it was like a fraction of the size of what we've got now. And I went in with...
It was 1/6 of an acre.
Yeah. I went in with nothing and just kind of let the chips fall where they may. And we did have to move a couple things a couple of times, but not much. It just kind of formed up.
Yeah.
In the end, and I liked how it was turning out.
I mean, you had a little bit of a plan in terms of the way you cut grass. You were kind of like, I know I want the flower beds in this shape.
I suppose so. I had like a loose sketch of that, but as far as like plants and stuff, I was taking so many things home that were damaged or broken or sick from the garden center that I just took whatever I could get my hands on. So I was kind of subject to that a little bit along the way.
Kind of nice that we were both in a position when we had that place that we both had access to like almost unlimited overtime.
Yeah.
Which is nice because we didn't have kids. And so like you were able to work extra hours. I could when we wanted to.
Yeah.
And that was the first time that we got a house cleaner too. Because we were both like
this is
dumb. We both would just rather
we
work more hours
at
our job than clean the house.
Right. That was the only thing we ever like disagreed on was how often the house should be cleaned, which we're thankful that was the only thing.
I was like like once a month is fine.
I want it every week,
Yeah, you probably wanted it like every day.
Yeah. Yeah, I do not function in a space that's chaos. I just don't. Yeah. I don't like that. And I've got enough chaos. Like you wouldn't know that from looking at my surroundings. Like if you could see the rest of the studio right now. Oh my goodness. But like in our home, I want to be able to walk with bare feet and not have stuff stick to my feet. Which I know that's rich coming from me now because we walk around with our shoes all the time. But it's different. Yeah, now it's a little different with the kids because there are sticky elements to it.
But yeah, in our last place, you did, you at least had an idea of where you wanted the grass lines to be. Yeah. And we cut the grass out. Yeah. And then you started just filling in.
Yeah. And really a lot of my plant choices happened as they were coming off a truck. And I was looking at everything and watering and reading tags. And I'm like, I love that. That really like sticks out to me among all the other evergreens. I should put that somewhere. Where should I put that? And then I would spend so much time. I didn't have kids to think about at the time or really a lot of other things because we didn't have a lot of responsibilities at home either. Yeah. So I had a lot of brain space time to really think about stuff like that. Anyway, now it's like we get a tree. I don't know where I want to put it.
Yeah.
I don't know. We figure it out. Vintage Garden and Cake said, did you notice any of your blackberries being less seedy than the other? I'd like to plant some, but I'd like to choose the least seedy kind if one exists. I would plant a triple crown. You do get later blackberries, but I feel like there's more flesh to seed in those. And then we've got the, what are they called? Taste of Heaven. They're the new ones from Proven Winners. I don't know what the berries are like, but in the description it says that the seeds are small. And that's one of like the big selling points for them. So I have them. They haven't produced any berries. I don't know if they will this year, but I'm excited to see how those stack up. But triple crowns, I definitely recommend. Next video is a bunch of weeding, planting a larch and making blackberry cheesecake ice cream. What a random assortment. And I started that video one evening and I didn't end it until not the next day, but the day after. It's like I was just picking up random projects around the heat. So I had one of the like 250-foot rows in our dirt lands that needed to be weeded. So I got out there in the evening one night and we just weeded it together. Got it done. It was pretty nice weeding because the soil was fluffy, it was kind of moist, and I get to just toss the weeds behind me as I go. And then we planted the recurved larch, the Horstman's recurve larch at the back of the north garden. We did that the next morning, and then I started the process of making the blackberry cheesecake ice cream. So it took till the next day because there's a lot of steps in that one. It's not hard, it's just that you have to do a lot of refrigerator time, freezer time, and then more freezer time. Mm-hmm. So Deborah said, wow, that is an amazing amount of berries. What will you do with them all? So far I have made 3 batches of jam. I have 2 big Ziploc baggies full of blackberries in the freezer right now. I will give some away, but we eat jam like crazy. I made some apricot jam too, and Benjamin, he had me make him 3 sandwiches. He is going through it's weird because he's never been like focused on food. He's never been a kid like that. Yeah. He like kind of ate to just survive. And every once in a while though, he'll be like going through a growth spurt and he will just eat. Yeah. He'll come back, Mama, I'm still hungry. I'm like, go have a banana. Still hungry. Go have a string cheese. Yeah. Still hungry. Okay, I'll make you another sandwich. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Donna said, I think you can't tell for sure from TV, but what are you calling buttonweed? We call mallow and it's medicinal. Is that right? I don't know anything about buttonweed other than it's buttonweed. Mallow that we grow is different than the buttonweed. So it does look similar though. The leaves look similar. I have mallow in some of our flower beds, particularly close to the house by the ash tree. It's in there. Jeannie Adams said, for the ice cream, did you show when you added the whipped cream cheese or did I miss that? No, that step got left out. So it's when you take the cream off of the stove and then you whisk it into the cream cheese. It's a super easy step. It is included in the written recipe, which I would hope everybody would read that first instead of just following my video. And we did remember to put the recipe in the description. I remembered. Snowball Jen said, Laura, as your land is growing in size, all the care needs for it, demands of the show, and trying to maintain a personal life, are you finding yourself at some crossroads of wanting to cut back things? You are a superwoman. I love your show. Definitely not a superwoman, but I actually feel like my life has more balance than it probably ever has at the moment. I don't know why.
We're in a good groove.
We are. We are in a good groove. We've got great help. That's huge. Amy is watering for us again this year on weekends and holidays, which we've had Amy for the past few years. Yeah.
There was one year that we skipped.
Yeah, there was one year we skipped, and I can't remember why. Maybe she had a lot going on, or we did, or I can't remember. But Amy's been a family friend forever and ever, and she's awesome. So she comes in and helps out with that, so I don't have to worry about hours of watering over the weekend. Paul and Bethany are here during the week, and our kids are busy, and I don't know. It's just good. Life is good right now. We did have a couple of big projects we were about ready to pull the trigger on.
Oh yeah.
For this year, and I'm super happy that we did not.
I don't know. It could have been awesome.
Well, it would have been. We would have made it through. Mm-hmm. But I was starting to get a little bit like it's going to be another year like that. And it's just nice. We have nothing on the schedule in terms of travel, engagements. And that's I think that's my happy spot, as I know I'm home.
Sure.
And that's where I want to be. So Janet said, it's amazing how much you have planted in the past years that you're now struggling to find space for trees. I know, to find space for things that get big. I mean, there is space for that, but now we're having to be a little bit more selective. Like, do we want to plant another one of those, or should we wait and put something different in? Yeah. That kind of deal. Looking back when you first purchased the new land, is there anything you would do differently? I think we've talked about this a little bit before. We would have maybe restructured like the west side so that we could have a deeper border. When we bought it and put the arbs in, we knew the subdivision was going to go in. It just wasn't yet.
Yeah.
And when it's not there, you don't really think about it. And then the houses go in. It doesn't really bother me. It bothers you more than it bothers me, I think. Thankfully, we have great neighbors, all of them. They're all great neighbors. So at least we're not like, you know.
Sure.
But yeah, it would be nice not to see roofs over there.
Probably would have been better to plant more evergreens.
Yeah.
Like an evergreen hedge.
Like tall, like big stuff. Or stuff that got big.
Everything, there's like a time for everything. And, when we first bought the place that we have now, it was just under 2 acres. And, when you're looking like, where can we plant a vegetable garden and where can we do this? And it's like, there just aren't that many spaces to choose from.
Well, there are in 2 acres, except for there was already so much going on in the space. There was already so much structurally that.
Right. And so now that we've gone from under 2 acres to 12, it's like, oh, well, if we would have had the 12 acres to begin with, we would have placed things differently for sure. But I'm pretty happy with how everything is.
I am too.
I do think the vegetable garden needs to go.
There's nothing in particular that I'm like, oh, we screwed up. I don't really think that way.
No, not really.
And in my mind too, like anything, including the raised bed garden, can be changed.
Yeah.
In the future, if it's something you hate or something that doesn't fit your lifestyle anymore, then I used to be more afraid of change or not as good with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. My mom, she's talking about retooling one area of her garden and like working around some of the trees that are there, and they're not like big shade trees. I'm like, Mom, why are you working around this stuff? Just get rid of all of it.
Yeah.
Like, you can plant new stuff, get rid of all of it so you're not working around that, and that's not limiting you, because that is going to limit your design because it's right in the way.
Yeah.
And if you work around it because of that as some nostalgic thing, you're going to lose that tree in 5 years, probably in a windstorm, and then you based your whole design off this one thing.
Then you won't have the tree or the design that you want.
And I just heard you coming out of my mouth as I was talking to my mom. I'm like, this is Erin. But it's so true, because in the end, you're like, I'm glad I released that.
Yeah.
Because that made this area so much better and so much easier to work with. And I was able to create something so much better without this thing in the way, and just like kind of remove the emotion from it. And you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't know if she'll actually do it, but that was my advice to her. So we'll see. Chad Goodwin said, hello guys, love your videos. I'm following you since the beginning, and you gave me lots of confidence and freedom to achieve any projects in the garden, as well as owning my failures. Will there be a July tour, and if so, would it be possible to add a drone tour to see the improvement from the sky or the different pockets you made? Question 2, didn't you used to grow melons and watermelons? Why did you stop? Thank you for the great work you do. You're an example, and God bless you and your family. Question 1, yes, we will do a July tour at some point. We were talking about it this morning.
Well, oftentimes we skip a July tour just because, 1, it's blazing hot, and 2, there's almost never any overcast days. And I was thinking about that this morning, actually. What we need to do is you and I need to go out like a series of mornings at like 6 a.m. And just record short little sections of the garden and release them, because you have you can only go film for like 20 or 30 minutes. So we could basically do like short little 20-minute tours.
So instead of like Shark Week, it'll be tour week.
Kind of.
5 tours in a row.
Well, and we could almost release them in conjunction with our other videos or something. I don't know.
Or maybe that would give us some time to have some relaxing days.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. But yeah, because it's so harsh. If you go film when the sun's out and you're not doing it on an overcast day, 1, the cameras overheat, and it's super frustrating because it feels like you can't go more than like 3 minutes of filming before your phone just shuts off.
Yep.
Or whatever camera you're using, it just turns off. We could maybe use a GoPro, but the quality's
not
horrible.
Near as bad. Didn't you used to grow melons and watermelons? Yes, I did, and we could grow the melons. Man, they were awesome. But they were oh my word, they were. Laugh at me. They were kind of one of those. Cantaloupes are different. Cantaloupe and melons, like muskmelons, are pretty reliable. Pretty good at picking those when they're ripe. I mean, you can smell them. They're awesome. And I meant to plant some this year and forgot. But the watermelons, I can grow great watermelons. They look beautiful from the outside, but it was like a 50-50 on getting good flavor. Like occasionally you'd open one that was great, and then you'd open one with no flavor. And I think it's because I was scared about cutting water. Most of the watermelon farmers, like around here, they say to cut the water, like end of July or sometime around there. They say that the vines will look horrible absolutely horrible.
And you just can't bring yourself to do it.
I can't do it. I just can't do it. But it helps the sugars condense in the fruit. And that's what we just discovered for the strawberries. They were getting way too much water, and we've cut the water by a lot. The plants still look amazing, so you know that that extra water was going in to dilute the flavor of the fruit and make them a little bit on the tart, like more sour side. And so we've noticed improvement there from just adjusting the water. Heather said, are your blackberries susceptible to getting worms? A neighbor is showing me his berry shrub and explaining how to tell if a berry has a worm or not. I think he might have been pulling my leg, so I thought I would ask you. I've never had any worms in mine, and let me tell you what, I check mine because our neighbor has struggled with worms in her raspberries. And she's asked me, like, how do I get rid of these little white worms? Like, what do I do? So I check, like, every time I go out there to pick, I look at the first few that I pick, and I feel like if I check about 5 or 6 of them and none of them have worms, then we're good. Then I just eat them. I've been eating some red ones, and fall golds are starting to come off. Just a little bit here and there. I mean, I did mow them all down, so I wasn't expecting fruit until even next month, so it's kind of like a little bonus. So we might have been pulling your leg a little bit, but they can get worms. Linda said, love seeing the garden in both the morning and evening light. Just beautiful. I definitely have row crop envy. Mine are looking pitiful. Question about your irrigation. How long do you run your drip per day and how many days per week? Do you water differently time-wise if it's in the ground, such as your rows versus raised beds? Oh, that is such a hard question to answer. We run our drip every other day in the heat of the summer. So every zone gets it every other day. They don't get it every day because we have too many zones going on. And it just depends. Yeah. Like we might run one zone for 10 minutes. We might run one zone for an hour if it's, something that...
Yeah.
Like because we've got an extra run to hydrangeas and we can run that for a little extra longer than we run it for everything else because they require a little bit more.
And we're changing it constantly too.
Yeah.
Some areas you're like, oh, let's back off a little bit on that one and let's, add another 10 minutes here. Or it's just that kind of a question is from someone who is like me that wants to have all their ducks in a row before they get started. They have a chart. Mm-hmm. And I'm that way. So trust me, I know where you're coming from, but you're wrong. You cannot know. It's one of those things you have to just start small. Start with one area. You will
eventually know, though.
You can eventually know. Yeah.
It's trial and error.
But you can't ask someone what they do. It's going to be 100% dependent on your area, how many things you have hooked up.
What your soil's like.
You have to monitor it at first. And once you've done a little bit of the work and you've started small, you can expand, you'll get the hang of it. But you can't know for your specific area ahead of time what to do. Mm-hmm. So there you go. Sorry.
That's a hard one. Sorry.
It sucks.
Hard to answer. Nash said, a raccoon flattened darn near all my onions. Bummer. Do I pull them because they've been flopped over from the stupid raccoons, or will they continue to grow? I would leave them for now. If they're immature bulbs, you'll want to leave them anyway to dry back a little bit. So just keep an eye on them. And if those leaves are connected even at all, they might still feed the bulb a bit. So I'd hold on. Next video is rooting strawberry runners and planting a chase tree and a new buddleia for 2026 in Agastaki. So I started off by kind of explaining the life cycle of a strawberry plant. We rooted 24 of the Seascape strawberries for my parents for their garden, and I just talked through that process. Then we planted out the stuff. I have the Rock Steady Chase Tree, which we had planted 3 last year, and I had one more that we wintered in the high tunnel. That's the one we planted. They've all done beautifully, and I did not expect them to. I thought they had all died, and they just broke dormancy very, very late. And they're beautiful and in bloom right now. The buddleia for 2026 is a spring blooming buddleia, butterfly bush. While all of our others bloom in the midsummer to fall, this one blooms early and it's got lavender flowers and it's got more of like a arching kind of graceful sort of appearance. And I planted those out in the dirtlands to mask a hose reel setup out there because they grow 3 to 5 feet tall and wide. I think it'll be pretty. And then I planted the Royal Raspberry Agastaki, which you ordered. Yeah. You tacked that onto the order. And I was like, why did you order this? I've already planted it 3 times and it's died every single time. And it's funny because... So the first time I planted it, it was under the willow. I planted it again under the willow because I thought, well, we'll just try again. Died there. And then I planted it out in the south garden and it died.
So this is try number 4.
So this is try technically number 4. I sent Bethany a picture so she would know where I had planted the new stuff so we could all keep our eye on it for water. And she said she almost texted me back, that's a beautiful place for it to die.
You know what? Under the willow, I don't count that because everything kind of struggles around the willow.
Yeah, it's true.
But, the one time that it died out in the south garden, I'll give you that one.
Yeah, that wasn't fair, though, for the willow being in that list, really.
Because anytime, I would just guess literally anything you plant under the willow is like,
what does thrive,
probably
though?
Won't take it. What?
my Russian hawthorn, iris, lemon jade sedum, Morden blush roses.
There you go.
Honeysuckle, salvia.
That's not underneath.
That gaillardia that will not die. There's a gaillardia, like a patch of them that the previous owners planted, and they like sun. And these are in full shade pretty much all day, and they're just in beautiful bloom, red and yellow.
You know what would look nice is if you did a bowl cut on that willow. Yes. I know a guy that can do it for you.
Do you know a guy?
Yeah.
Awesome. GPS watching said, are these starts considered a year one strawberry, or will they be first year next season? I would kind of consider their first year to be next season. I don't know what the professionals would say is a first year, but when they don't even have roots this year and they're just getting their roots, I mean, I guess technically this would be their first year on their own. I would expect some fruit next year off of them, I guess. Jen Quinn said, good morning, Laura. I love this strawberry segment. Question for you. How do you plan or have in the past keep track of the age of your strawberry plants and know when to remove the old ones once they're done producing? I assume some of the runners will naturally root themselves and intermingle with the mother plants. Thank you for all the neat and interesting topics you show us in your garden. You know, I don't really keep track of it, but you can kind of tell when a plant is starting to peter out. Obviously you won't get as much production, and you can see other plants that have rooted in around. So you can easily like take out the plant that's not producing anymore and leave some of the others. I don't know. I've never really struggled with figuring that out, I guess, just by looking at the row and knowing where I initially planted. And it's such an organized way I planted the first ones. It'll be easy to tell which ones have rooted in different spots. So I know that's not super helpful, but that's kind of how I do it.
You'll just know.
Yeah, and if your plant, like you'll know through the season, like through the first part when you get that first flush of fruit, if your plant isn't doing that, just dig it out at that point and get rid of it, and root some other ones in there. Or root some ones first and then get rid of that one. June Smart said the gardens are filling in so well and so artistically. The last few videos have been a challenge to watch because the quality is visually stressful. Are you using new camera equipment? That's probably a dirty lens. 1, I should be more diligent about cleaning my lens. 2, you say the picture is not crisp and when the camera pans across areas there's blurriness without focus. Yes. So we use outside GoPros most of the time to film, and they are not the best. But they handle what we do the best in terms of the roughness of what I do, and then also light and dark. And I mean, they're the best camera for filming in full sun without overheating. I mean, if we could even film with cell phones, it would be better quality, but they would overheat like that in our outside, and I wouldn't be able to. I'd have to have multiple phones. Also,
check your quality. Check the quality on what you're watching and make sure it's at the highest, because YouTube oftentimes knocks it down to whatever.
When she said that, she said, let me know if I need to do more than to just adjust quality on settings.
Hit the little cog and make sure you're watching at the highest quality that's available to you.
But even then, it's not the best camera, and I do apologize for that, but we had to find something that could handle being outside in the heat for hours.
Yeah, it's really hard when you're filming yourself, which you prefer to do. You don't like having a cameraman around. Mm-mm. So if you're not going to have a cameraman, this is like about as good as you can do given the amount of content that we put out.
Yeah. And I'm usually managing 2 or 3 GoPros every single day. So moving them around and trying to get different angles and all of that. And they're lightweight. They're the bigger cameras too that have better quality. Like the ones that we're using right now, the tripods are heavy and cumbersome, and I would just hate it. With the GoPros, it's manageable. Laura said, why can't I clip off the baby strawberry plant and root them without being attached to the mother plant? Like, do exactly what you did, but clip them off. You can, but the process is a little bit more tender. When you've got them still attached to the mother plant, like you could skip a day watering. You don't want to, but you could skip a day watering and your plant's not going to die. With trying to root a plant without it attached to the mother plant, you need to put them in a more of a controlled environment where the humidity is higher. Some people will even put them in like a bag, kind of like you do African violets, where you can keep like a humid dome over them, and you have to maintain the moisture levels like kind of perfectly for them to root in. And I've done it both ways. I have more success keeping them attached to the mother plant. So either way though. Mary Ann said, I love your strawberry plants, so healthy. How do you keep bugs from eating them? I have some planted in the ground and some in a big pot. The ones in the ground are mostly the ones getting bugs the most. I used the bug and slug killer quite a lot when I had mine planted in the ground, and it works great. It's just like, I think it's a spinosad. Is it a spinosad?
Oh, not sure.
But it's just like a little granule that just shakes out over the ground. I can look it up right now. Let's see. I think I still have. No, it's an iron and spinosad. Yeah, iron, phosphate, which is probably what does the slugs and snails, I'm guessing, and then the spinosad. So it's a good one. I would use that. If you get a lot of rain or if you overhead water, you'll need to apply it a little bit more often. Shauna said, are there also interior runners that should be removed for the sake of the vigor of the mother plant? Yeah, I would definitely root around in there and check to see if there's some that you can clip from the inside as well. Rubu said, it attracts pollinators. Are there any flowers with pollen that don't attract pollinators? I've heard there are colors bees prefer, but are they biased to some plants over others? I know some shapes of flowers are easier to access it. What does it really mean when labels specify the plant attracts pollinators? It just means that the plant attracts them. There's something about that flower. And sometimes like the color will attract a bee in terms of like the design of the color, if it's multicolored. They don't like big fluffy double flowers typically, like really fluffy marigolds. I don't see pollinators on geraniums all that often, and I don't see them on petunias all that often. I think some varieties they're attracted to, but not some. You could probably Google that and see if you can find a list of flowers that pollinators are not attracted to. We thought about doing a video along those lines at some point.
Yeah.
Because there are some people who are allergic to bees.
Yeah.
They want a pretty garden, but like having bees right up next to where you walk, that could be a life or death sort of thing. So we thought about putting together something like that at some point. Okay, the last group of questions is from last week's recap video. Jennifer said, why not just hose off your floor in the Hartley? That does bother me whenever you don't. I'm a little OCD about cleaning. Yeah, I don't think I would hose off the floor on the Hartley.
It would splatter everywhere.
It would splatter everywhere on the legs of everything. And that floor, I'm guessing, is probably not super level. We'd probably have low spots. I'd have to have a vacuum in there sucking water out. It's not like I can hose it and then hose it out the door. I just don't think it would work that way. I think it would be a nightmare. So I probably won't ever do that. Nope. Maybe if I had a drain in the floor somewhere.
It would still splatter everywhere, even with a drain, because you have a drain in the floor.
I see people and I don't know if this is a real thing or if people are just doing it as rage bait for people like me, but they put buckets of soapy water on their floor and then use a broom to clean their floor. But it's up on the legs of stuff and up around the room, and maybe they clean that too. But that just seems so unnecessary to me. And I know that's probably not what you're talking about, but
why would it be unnecessary? You're just trying to scrub something.
But the amount of water that they put in there with soap.
Oh, is
it seems
unnecessary?
like you'd have to rinse it so many times with clean water.
Oh.
It would take you all day.
Huh.
I'm going to show you a video of that.
Okay.
Janet said, when you do weekly fertilizing, is it by hand or through drip? It's by hand. We have a water tank that we mix the fertilizer up in and then go around and water stuff with that.
If you are smart enough to set it up ahead of time, you can do it in your system. If you have a small enough system or you've planned to do that. Mm-hmm. So if you're in the process of building a home or, you're going to be putting in a landscape and you want a garden, but you have a blank slate, mm-hmm. I would hire someone to get that set up to where you can do a fertilizer through your drip system.
Yeah.
What you need is you basically need some space to be able to put a tank that can pull up the concentrated fertilizer mm-hmm. and inject it into certain zones. So you just need to have all your zones set up to go to certain things. You have to plan out. That's the problem. Nobody can really plan. Nobody knows where everything's going to be. Mm-hmm. But if you can, in a greenhouse situation, it's pretty easy because it's mm-hmm. All of our annuals are in this greenhouse or whatever. Mm-hmm. And so everything's pretty much getting the same thing. And oftentimes they'll use one of those 50-gallon drums or something for their concentrate. Mm-hmm. And just everything gets, a certain amount of fertilizer that gets drawn up. I know Kevin at Epic Gardening does it.
Does he?
Because he's on a small enough scale that he can do that. But
it's too there's too many things going on.
Too many zones. And we just never set it up to where you can say, okay, I just want it for the grass. Because if you could do that, just separate just the zones that have the grass, make sure that the fertilizer gets pulled up to put a certain amount of nitrogen in or whatever. That would be nice.
Yeah. Patriot Mama said, what is the average humidity level on those hot days? In Illinois, we can get to the mid-upper 90s in July and August during the day, but only gets down into the high 70s if we're lucky, but mostly low 80s at night with between 70 and 80% humidity. Oh, summer's hot, yes, but I love it. Love all the growing things in my vegetable garden, too. So our days, today, it's 17% humidity, and it's 96 degrees outside. So that's why I say, I melt in humidity, because our humidity level is usually in the low teens. It'll be 103, 105 with 13% humidity. It's very dry heat. which our plants don't love, but I love, because you
Yeah.
can get into the shade of a tree and it feels nice. Or if like a slight breeze is blowing, it feels great. Like it's doable to be outside. It feels like you're baking when you're out in the sun.
It feels like you're burning.
Like you're cooking a little bit. And like our hot powder dirt, particularly on a hot day, it feels like it's baking your feet from underneath. Yeah. It's just crazy. It's like an oven, but you can escape it. So when we go to a place that's got humidity, I'm just like, oh, I can't breathe. I feel like I'm an instant sweat ball.
That is why I want trees.
Yeah.
Like our west side
shade
is really nice. When you're in the Gator and you're driving down the west side, like 10, 15 degrees is what it feels cooler when you drive through that area. Mm-hmm. So if we can have more of a canopy over
everything.
Yeah. Our city, I think I mentioned this one point, but our city just got approved for some grant to cover a certain percentage of public space with trees, which I think is awesome.
Yes, it is awesome.
Yeah.
Debbie said, could a drone be used to spray the juniper? You have drone leave off things to get rid of those thrips. I was just wondering if they could utilize the drone to spray the tree. I was actually thinking of Natural Tree. Did they offer any service with their big lift truck? Like, would they come and...
No, I talked to them about it.
They don't do that?
They're busy enough with what they do. But, that is interesting. I'm sure that there is someone local. I should look into that. I'll bet for sure that there's somebody that does spraying like that, spot spraying.
Yeah.
Because they do it in fields.
One tree. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we had that drone come and do the biologicals.
Sure.
I don't know if I've got his information rather. I wonder if they deal with any other, like if they can apply anything other than biologicals.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen lots of videos of drones that spray fields with whatever chemical or,
Sherry said, off subject topic, do you ever have bees swarming around your fountains? Ours are loaded.
Never.
Mm-mm. I see them occasionally like on the edge getting a drink or something, but never swarming them. Vale Creek Cottage said, regarding the gate pillars, just curious why you wouldn't fence in the pillars out to protect your privacy. Am I missing something? I might have missed your thinking on this. We did talk about that as being an option. We talked about doing like brick wings or like fencing away from the pillars. But in the end, I think we want to create our fencing with plants. So that's what we're going to be shooting for.
Have a living fence.
We'll have more of a living fence situation. But I get that. It's like, why would you put that there if, you could still walk through, which you could, but anybody could walk through our fence. I mean, I can get through the slats of our fence, easily. So it's not like a security fence, but it has deterred a lot of people driving through. Yeah. Which has been wonderful. Lucy Morrison said, I think birds eat juniper berries. Will a systemic treatment affect the berries? Oh. We just talked about that, and we're going to look into that neem.
It's a good question.
Yeah, I don't think it would actually, if it's like neem that I'm used to, I don't think it would affect the birds.
I don't think so either.
But I think checking on it and asking the question is a good idea. I'm glad you asked. GP said, could you put the electrical box inside the cold frame and hide it in there? In the Hartley.
Well, no, because there's the AC and heat are on the other side.
Inside the cold frame.
Oh, inside the cold frame. Well, I mean, when you close it, it gets all humid in there.
Yeah, it does.
I don't think that's a good idea.
Could you put it on the inside, like on an interior wall, not the mini split wall? I mean, what would that entail if we did that?
Okay, yeah, it would entail breaking up the floor.
Right.
In the Hartley.
Bringing that stuff through the bottom, like underneath the mini split kind of situation. Yeah. And then putting it up on the wall.
Yeah, and you have to go down deep. Yeah, it'd be a massive hole.
That foundation is
the
deep.
guys that were installing it and that were doing the rebar and the stem wall and everything, the foundation. They were like, "This is overkill.
This is not going anywhere.
Will never go anywhere."
Yeah,
but
that would be a very intense
engineered
hole.
To last.
Yes, for sure. And I really couldn't be more happy with it, honestly. Tracy said, did the mammoth sunflower make it after you transplanted it? I've been curious about it. Yes, it did. It's beautiful. It's like, what, this tall now? Maybe taller than that? The big sunflower that used to be, in front of the blue spruce tree, and you helped me move some of those root pieces. Yeah.
Mammoth sunflower.
It's a Maximilian. Yeah, I knew what she meant. But it made the transplant beautifully. It looks gorgeous out there. I'll have to show it to you one of these days. And the last question comes from Heather about treating the juniper systemically. If you use a drench or a granular that's watered in, will the other plants that are below it take up the chemical and potentially harm pollinators? I have a Royal Raindrops crabapple that got devoured by chewing things, but I have annuals planted underneath, so I'm nervous to treat it systemically. Just curious what you all think about this. Yeah, if there's anything in the soil around it that has roots in the same vicinity, it can take up some of it. It depends on how quickly. I mean, it's not... it's not going to get the full effect. It's not going to get, unless you treat all the way around the tree.
Also depends on when you apply it.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, at this point, we're probably going to do like a fall application if we would. And the annuals are going to get pulled out anyway.
Yeah. We don't have any annuals under that tree anyway.
Yeah, so...
There's nothing blooming currently under that tree.
There's hydrangeas, but I don't think bees
Those are barely blooming. Bees do occasionally, but they've got so many other better options that they go to those.
I never really see bees
I'm not
going to
worry about that. Yeah. And honestly, we plant so much for the pollinators. If we need to treat one thing on our property in order to save it, something like that, I would do that. And I'm not going to worry about a few pollinators. Like, I know you probably hate to hear me say that, but we plant so much, and we're so conscious about pollinators and creating an environment for them. But I want to keep this tree. Yeah. That's however many decades old, you know, and it's creating a ton of shade over there, and it's keeping a lot of other things alive over there. So it's like, you know, balance. Anyway, guys, that is it for this week's recap video. One last quick reminder about the Aquapot insert. We do have those in stock, so we will link that down below. Other than that, I think that's it. Yeah. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you have a great week. See you in the next one. Bye.